Again and again, we are moving forward, guys. Thank you so much for being with us. My name is Mr. Executive, the unemployed expert. Welcome to our online platform where we learn mathematics. And in this topic, we are going to learn on how to change the subject of formula. Make sure before you go through this tutorial, make sure that you go through a tutorial based on linear equations. In the previous, go through our channel. You shall come across a title written linear equations, because we'll be using the skills that we learned in that tutorial to change the subject of formula. By changing subject of formula, we mean, suppose we are presented with a formula A equals to mg plus d over c. This is a formula A equals to mg plus d over c. In this formula, A is the subject. A is being expressed in terms of M, G, D, and C. So to make the subject of formula is to express in terms of all other letters. Like in this case, you will be asked to change the subject of formula. If A is the subject of formula, how about let's make D the subject of formula? So we are going to apply mathematical skills up until we come up with a formula that reads D equals to. Then it means we made D the subject of formula. So we have 5 methods that we are going to use when changing the subject of formula. And these methods, they relate with the linear equations. So to make it simple for you guys, I'm always caring for you. I'm always caring for your mind. To make it simple, here we simplify things. To make it simple, right, we are going to present linear equations versus making subject of formula. The same skills that we learned in solving linear equations are the same skills that we'll be using in making the subject of formula. Let's go for it. Number 1, linear equations. Solve x plus 3 is equals to 8. If you can solve this equation x plus 3 equals to 8, then it means you can also make x the subject of formula here. Grouping method. X is equals to 8, then we group 3 to the other side, it will become negative 3. X is equals to 8 minus 3, we get 5 as our final answer. The same applies here. We want to make x the subject of formula, so x will remain on this side equals to n, then we group m to that side, it becomes minus m. We are already done. X is now the subject of formula. So grouping method, the same method that we use in linear equation, we use it when grouping and making subject of formula. Example number B, in linear equations we used to have examples like this: 2x is equals to 8. So in subject of formula, again, we might have the same situation: ax is equals to b. So in equations we solve, then we will be making subject of formula. Right here, we are going to divide by 2 both sides, so that we get the value of x, which is 4. The same applies here. We want to make x the subject of formula. So in order for us to get rid of a, let's divide by the unknown, by the unwanted term a, both sides. That is over a and over a. Then you cancel, x is equals to b over a. So which means linear equations and the subject of formula are one and same thing. Let's add more examples. So far I illustrated grouping method. Let me add more methods. In equations, we came across equations involving brackets. For example, 3x minus 2 is equals to 12. So same applies here. We might come across subject of formula involving brackets. X plus b is equals to m. So in this case, let's remove brackets. 3 times x, 3x. 3 times minus 2, we get 6 is equals to 12. Before you divide by 3, you must group 6 to the other side. That is 3x is equals to 12. This was minus 6, so it becomes positive 6. 3x is equals to 12 plus 6, we get 18. Then you divide by 3 both sides. X is equals to 6. How about in this side? We want to make x the subject of formula, but look, there is a bracket. So let's remove brackets first. A times x, we get ax. A times b, we get ab is equals to m. Then before you divide by a, move the other terms to the other side. That is, ax will remain is equals to m. Then on the other side, AB will move and become negative AB. Now, how do we get rid of A? A and X are multiplying. We are going to use division. You divide both sides by A. On this side, you put an O over A. Then you cancel this side. Take note of this. It's not correct to divide A and this A when we have a longer division symbol like this. So the final answer is X is equals to M minus AB O over A. As simple as that. So the same methods we use when solving questions are the same methods that we use when solving changing subject of formula. Let's have a look at this one. We have 5x is equals to 4 minus 2x. Then on this side we have ax is equals to b minus cx. On this side, we want to solve this equation. We have 5x and 2x. So let's use grouping method. 5x, when this 2x moves, it will change its sign to be positive. 2x is equals to 4. Now, 5x plus 2x, we get 7x is equals to 4. To get rid of 7, we are going to divide both sides by 7, like this. So x is equals to 4 over 7. Remember, when a numerator is smaller than the denominator, we have no problem with that. So this is our final answer. Let's look at this subject of formula. We have an x here and another x here. Yet we want to make x the subject of formula. So grouping method first, let's group the x values to the left so we get a positive x. Because if we move this x to become negative, yet we have another negative x. Ax, this one will become a positive cx equals to b. Now there's a kind of difference here. 5x and 2x were like terms, so we managed to combine them and get 7x. But ax and cx cannot be summed up together because they are unlike terms. So which means in changing the subject of formula, when you come across such a situation, we say x is common. So when the required letter to be the subject is common, you must factorize it. So we are going to factorize x. X into x will get a, x into x will get c is equals to b. So when the required term is common, you factorize it. So we employ factorization when changing the subject of formula. Now the relationship between x and the bracket is multiplication. So to remain with the x, we are not going to group the bracket. The bracket is multiplying, so we use division. We are dividing both sides by the terms inside brackets, like this. Then you cancel, we get x is equals to b o over a plus c. It's simple as that. That's why you always like my channel. That's why you always share. That's why you always tell a friend about this platform. Let's have one more example. Since we came across equations involving fractions, we will also come across a subject or formula that involves fractions. Suppose if this equation x over 3 plus 2 over 5 is equals to 4. So which means on this side you can have x over b plus a over c is equals to d. When solving equations involving fractions, this term we give over 1. We clear fractions first through multiplying both terms by the common denominator. So the common denominator of 3 and 5 is 15. So both sides are going to multiply by 15. That is multiplied by 15, multiplied by 15, and multiplied by 15. Then you reduce 3 into 3, 1, normal fraction. 3 into 15, 5. 5 into 5, 1. 5 into 15, 3. Then 1 into 15, it will remain 15. Now let's collect the numerators. 5 times x, we get 5x, plus 2 times 3, we get 6, is equals to 4 times 15, we get 60. After we are done with fractions, let's group. That is 5x equals to 60 minus 6. So it becomes 5x is equals to 60 minus 6 will give us 54. Then you divide by 5x by 5x both sides. X is equals to 5 into 5, 1, 5 into 50, 10 times remainder 4 out of 5. So the same applies here. we are going to give n over 1 here, then we multiply by the common denominator. So the common denominator of b and c is bc. So both sides we are multiplying by bc, and by bc. Let's cancel the common factors like this. Then now, since we have no more denominators, let's consider the common factors only. That is, let's take the numerators, that is c times x, we get cx, plus a times b, we get ab, equals to dbc. Where is x to be the subject of formula? Here is x to be the subject. So now we are grouping x. Cx will remain on this side, then we are going to move AB to the other side. And always remember, you must not start by writing down AB, you start by writing down the term which is already on that side, that is DBC. AB will move and become negative AB. So at this stage, we want to remain with the x, we are going to divide by C, both sides, O over C. Always take note of this. It's incorrect to divide C and this C if we have an O over. But if it was DBC over C minus AB, if they were separate like this, we could reduce by C. If they are combined together, this is the final answer, DBC minus AB over C. Then the last method, I would like to call it the opposing method. So let's have a look at this one, the opposing method. I would like to call it opposing method. We are still talking about making the subject of formula. We have 5 methods: grouping method, removing brackets, clearing fractions, factorization, then the opposing method. By opposing method, I mean power 2 is the opposite of square root. Power 3 is the opposite of third root. And the pattern continues like that. So sometimes you come across such situations when you are making the subject of formula, as we are going to go through some of the examples like this. You are asked to make x the subject of formula. Make x the subject of formula. Make x the subject of formula. Number A, x squared is equals to b. Right. But it seems like x is already the subject of formula. Kind of that, but not really, because we still have a power 2. So if you want to get rid of this power 2, you introduce the opposite, both sides. The opposite of power 2 is the square root. So the question is, in order for us to get rid of this power 2, we are not going to introduce another power 2. We introduce a square root, both sides. When the opposite and the opposite meet, they all cancel. Like this, then we get x is equals to the root of b. That's opposing method. Another example, x squared is equals to a. I'm being asked to make x the subject of formula. So in this case, x is almost the subject, but it has a power. So to get rid of this power, I'm introducing the opposite both sides, so that they'll cancel and I'll get root of a. Even if it starts with a square root, like this. Number C. We want to make x the subject of formula, and x is almost the subject of formula, but it is within the root sign. So if you want to get rid of the root sign, you introduce the opposite. This time around, we are not introducing another square root sign. We are introducing a power 2, like this. Both sides, power 2, power 2. These opposites will cancel and we get x equals to b squared. Then there's a certain order that we follow when we are using opposing method. Suppose if this is situation, ax squared is equals to b. Instead of starting by the opposing method, when we have other terms on this side, we cannot start by removing power 2. In fact, we must deal with the terms first, like a. Let's get rid of a, then later we'll introduce opposing method. Meaning to say we are going to divide by a, because a is multiplying here. After dividing, we will get x squared is equals to b over a. When the term with a power 2 remains on its side like this, that's when you introduce the opposing method instead of starting with the opposite. So the opposing method, by the way, is the last option. After grouping, after removing all other terms, now we are introducing the square root to both the terms. We cancel here, we get x is equals to root of b over a. As simple as that. Then maybe one more example. Suppose we have a plus x squared is equals to d. In this case, opposing method is the last option. We cannot start by doing the opposing method. Let's move a first. A in this case is adding to x, so we remove a through grouping to the other side. That is x squared is equals to d minus a. When the term with the power 2 remains on its side, then you introduce opposing method like this. On the right hand side, all the terms will be in a square root. You cancel, you get x is equals to root 2 of d minus a. Even if it was this situation number e, a root 2 of x is equals to b. We cannot start by opposing method. Let's deal with the a first. In this case, a is multiplying with the root. If it was a plus, we're going to group a. If it's multiplication, we're going to divide by a both sides like this, so that the root of x is equals to b over a. Then let's introduce opposing method to do away with this square root. We're introducing power 2. These terms will get power 2. X is equals to b squared over a squared. It's very simple. On this platform, we are here to simplify complicated things. So let's summarize the changing or the making subject of formula. Basically, we have 5 methods. There are the methods: grouping, removing brackets, clearing fractions, factorization, and opposing method. These are the 5 methods that we were talking about during as we were solving the problems involving changing the subject of a formula. When there's no brackets, no fractions, you group. When there are brackets, we remove brackets first. When there are fractions, we clear fractions through multiplying every term by the common denominator. And when the required term is common, you factorize it. Then when there's a power or a square root, you introduce the opposite. These 5 methods can be combined like this last example. Suppose we want to make x the subject of formula, and the problem is r is equals to root of qx plus b over cx minus m. Alright, since all the terms on this right hand side are within the root sign, we have no any other option except starting by opposing method. We are introducing power 2 to get rid of the square root like this. So they cancel, and you get r squared is equals to qx plus b all over cx minus m. So we are done with opposing method. Then what's next? The thing that you use when you want to determine the method that is applicable, it all depends on the position of the letter to be the subject. So always check with where is the letter to be the subject. We want to make x, where is x? Here is another x, here is another one. We have got fractions, so we are going to clear fractions through multiplying both sides by the common denominator. The common denominator of 1 and this one, we take this in form of a bracket. Both sides we multiply by cx minus m, cx minus m. Then you cancel. Now we have r squared open bracket cx minus m is equals to qx plus b. Where is x to be the subject of formula? Here is x and another one, but there are brackets, so let's remove brackets. R squared cx minus r squared m is equals to qx plus b. Now we are done with opposing method, fraction, brackets. Where is x? Here is x to be the subject and the other one. So let's group the x terms. R squared cx, you move qx, it becomes minus qx is equals to b. This minus r squared m will move to the other side and become positive r squared m. Now where is x to be the subject? Here is x, here is x. X is common, so let's apply factorization method. X into x will get r squared c minus x into x will get q is equals to b plus r squared m. Now x is multiplied by the bracket. So to get rid of the bracket, let's divide both sides by the bracket. R squared c minus q, r squared c minus q. We cancel. So finally, x is equals to b plus r squared m over r squared c minus q. Remember, we cannot cancel this r and this. That's subject to formula. Thank you so much. I know you're enjoying this platform. Talk to me in the comment section.